Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, I'm going to be presenting to you guys my 2020 July forecast. It's a very action-packed one. We're looking at a lot of heat across a lot of the United States. We're going to be talking about all of that throughout this video. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. I'd also like to invite you to join our very exciting Discord server and our Facebook group. That's going to be in the pinned comment down below, and I'd love to see you there. Alright, now for today's comment of the day, I want to know, how many thunderstorms have you had this year? If you had to estimate, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Alright, now let's get into this video, and we're talking about our precipitation forecast, and we're starting out with a below average precipitation region here, down for the South, Central, and Great Plains of the United States. You can see that areas like New Mexico, Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas are all included in this below average precipitation region, and many of these regions don't really average that much precipitation as it is. They're just going to get a little bit less than what is typical for a July month. Now you can also see we have a second layer there where we have a moderately below average precipitation region for portions of Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Kansas, and Oklahoma there. That's just where we're going to be a little bit more below average than the tan regions. The darker the regions are, the more extreme the anomalies are for the said type of weather. Like, for instance, this is below average precipitation. Alright, now we're going to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at another region that's going to have below average precipitation, and we have another one after that. So we're going to have three separate regions with below average precipitation. Then we're going to move on to our above average precipitation, temperature forecast, and then finally our overall forecast. Alright, and here we are taking a look at that second below average precipitation region. And as you can see, Washington, Oregon, and portions in Nevada and California as well. We're going to be taking a look at some slightly below average precipitation. And really, our confidence is only about, I would say, moderate that we're going to have some below average precipitation here. I have eyeballed the chances that it will be kind of closer to normal, but I think that if anything, we're going to be leaning towards a little bit below average precipitation. And that's why we put that region right there for some of those regions. Also, we have another below average precipitation region here, and this one is for some of the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and the northeastern United States, where we saw a dry June for a lot of regions like New York and New England, and I think we're going to have a lot of the same for the month of July, unfortunately. I know you guys are dealing with a developing drought out there, and it looks like it's only going to worsen throughout the month of July. I know, bad news. So we're really going to be hoping for rain this July, August, September to try to bring us out of drought status up there, especially for upstate New York. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to be dealing with some dry months ahead, and we're going to have to see how that develops. Obviously, we will be making future videos about that topic and keeping you guys up to date with the conditions up there for you guys. Alright, now we're going to move on, and what we're going to do is take a look at some of those above average precipitation regions. Again, we have two of those. And then we are going to get into the temperature forecast and finally the overall forecast. Alright, now for our first above average precipitation region, we have a slim region of Washington and Idaho, but mostly this is for Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota, even though it even includes a little bit of northern Wyoming as well. And this is just an area that looks to be quite stormy, and actually this area was pretty stormy throughout the month of June, if I'm correct as well. So a lot of the same is going to continue with that. The upper Midwest here, and then portions of the Rockies as well, and the northern plains there are all going to be included in this slightly above average precipitation. However, we do have a moderately above average precipitation region here for Montana and North Dakota, where we're just a little bit more confident that we will have some above average precipitation. The models have been quite consistent with this. Also, June was like this, so what we look at is if we saw this trend for previous months. There's a term in weather that says the trend is your friend, and sure enough, the trend is probably our friend with this forecast. Looking back at the previous months, we're likely to continue in the same pattern we were in. So that backing it and also the models is going to tell me likely we're going to have pretty moderate chance at above average precipitation for that region. Now also we have another above average precipitation region here for the southeastern United States, where you can see states like Florida, Georgia, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, and North Carolina, as well as the Delmarva, are all going to be looking at some slightly to moderately above average precipitation, especially earlier on. We're a little bit more confident in that above average precipitation. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to that exciting temperature forecast, and then finally at the end of this video we will have our exciting overall forecast. Now for our first layer here, you can see we have a slightly below average temperature region here for Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, and California there. And this is that classic negative PNA pattern that I've been mentioning in our previous videos. That West Coast being below average temperatures really encourages above average temperatures to the east of this region. And as we move forward throughout this temperature forecast, you are going to see that that is the case here. All right, so we do have that below average temperature region there. We also have a second layer of below average temperatures here for Oregon and Washington. This is just an area where we're a little bit more confident that we will have below average temperatures than the surrounding region. So we're quite confident in those below average temperature conditions right there. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the above average temperature region. And this is going to be far more extreme than the below average temperatures actually. You can see basically from the Rockies eastward, with the exception of some areas in the Dakotas, Wyoming, and Montana, those areas are going to be near normal or equal chances. But basically everywhere else to the east of those regions is going to have at least slightly above average temperatures here. As you can see, this slightly orange region here is all areas where we're expecting some slightly above average temperatures. Now we also have a second layer here. And this is where we're expecting some moderately above average temperatures from the Great Plains all the way up to the upper Midwest. These areas have been dealing with heat throughout the month of June as well. The Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, some of the Mid-Atlantic as well, and then the New England states. All of these regions are going to be included in our moderately above average temperature region. Now, sure enough, I rarely break out the third layers, but we have a third layer of above average temperatures here that we're expecting for the Great Lakes regions, as well as some very slim areas in the Ohio Valley as well. These are just areas where we think we will be consistently hot throughout the month of July, consistently well above average temperatures. It's going to be a very hot one for these regions, and I know it already has been for the month of June, but July is looking even hotter for a lot of these regions, especially, again, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast states, the same states that were dealing with a lot of the heat just a month ago for the month of June. So you guys are expecting well above average temperatures throughout all of these orange and the deeper red regions here. So it's going to be a very hot one. And this isn't to say that the Southeast isn't going to be very hot, but you're going to be a lot closer to what's normal for you, which is actually the same as the very far above normal temperatures up there for the Great Lakes, because your average is so far different. So really the East is going to be looking at very consistently hot temperatures. I think that the Southeast could be a lot closer to normal. Some of the models have trended at some slightly below average temperatures moving in at times, and that's why I'm not as confident in the far above average temperatures for the Southeast as I am for the areas further north. And that's a lot of what we saw for the month of June as well. So again, the trend is our friend. Now, we also add a EC here for the areas in between, and what that means is equal chances. So I'm not saying that these areas are necessarily going to be average. I also think there's equal chances that we see above average temperatures or below average temperatures. Our confidence in this EC region are lower than the surrounding regions, and that's why they don't get a color shading. So I hope that kind of explains our reasoning for why there's no color shades in that region. All right, now what we're going to do is move on to that very exciting overall forecast. All right, now what we're going to do is just work our way from west to east, and I know there's a lot to go over here. We're going to try to keep this one short. To the northwest, we have cooler and dry conditions for that blue region. It's going to be a little bit more dry than what's typical, but also it's going to be quite cool there. So it's going to be a pleasant month, actually, I think, for a lot of those regions up in the northwest. Very comfortable, I would say. To the south here, for areas like California, Nevada, and Arizona, we have near normal conditions, but if anything, I think we would be cooler than normal for this region. If that negative PNA is to be a little bit more consistent, we would probably have the slightly below average temperatures creep further south than what we are currently expecting. And to the east of that, we have more dry than normal for a pretty large region that takes over the Four Corner states and some of the surrounding states as well. We're expecting a slightly more dry month than what is typical for a lot of these regions. Up to the north, you can see for northern Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, we have stormy conditions expected, and this is a lot of what we saw throughout the month of June as well, like I mentioned before. And then to the east of that, we have major heat waves here for the pink region. I think we're going to be consistently very hot, and we might have a few very large heat waves that take over, a single week at a time or more. Very, very major heat waves for this region. It's going to be a hot one, in my opinion. To the south of that, we have very hot for this purple region. It's not going to be as far above average temperatures, so that's the only difference here for this Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas region. To the north of you, we're going to have those more well above normal temperatures. Where you're at, it's just going to be slightly above normal. But actually, what's interesting is the very hot region is actually going to be hotter, probably, in actual temperature than the area to the north. I know it's very confusing. But your average temperature is much higher than the areas like Minnesota and Wisconsin. So it only takes a little bit of above average temperatures here to get very, very hot temperatures. To the east of here, we have stormy and hot for this light green region. I'm expecting many storm systems to move through this region, and also it's going to be very hot, just like all the other areas in the eastern United States. But I expect it to be especially stormy for the southeastern region of the United States. To the north of that, for our red region, we have very hot at times. I think the heat is going to be a little bit less consistent for this region than areas to your north and west. But still, it could be very hot at times, and a heat wave or two would not surprise me at all. And then last but not least, for the northeastern United States, and especially the New England states, we have hot and dry. And if I could say anything more about this region, obviously I would say the drought continues that we've been seeing develop. I think we're going to have a little bit of precipitation, obviously, but not nearly as much as we need to really rebound us out of that drought. So I think the drought is going to continue to intensify for these northeastern states. Now, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, how do you want July of 2020 to go? It was a convenient question to ask because it's very appropriate for this video. And Unknown Player said, I want July 2020 to bring more fog and below average temperatures to California that lowers down the fire threat. And I think that might just be the case, especially the below average temperatures. So I think you're in luck. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.